national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this Wednesday night, March 25th, 2026. Where's this year going? Can you believe we're already this deep into the month of March? Did you see this video today? Melania Trump walking out today, March 25th, 2026, with what they called a humanoid. I prefer to call a robot. By the way, notice that she walks out in her Logan, have you noticed that? I've seen this a couple times today, but she's wearing all white like the robot. I just kind of now should have picked up on that earlier. They definitely coordinated their outfits, Logan. And I'm going to show you more of this tonight with Patrick Wood because the robot or humanoid ended up walking around the table and greeting the crowd and saying hello. And then Melania gave a speech about how common it's going to be for you to have your own humanoid who will train your children and teach your children and grandchildren, and do it with a tailored, customized, and unique curriculum for every child. A lot of other words were used, and I'd like to get to what do those words really mean to the educrats. I don't know if they mean the same thing to Mrs. Trump, but do they mean what do they mean to the educrats, some of the words that she used? Because I've been writing about those words for a long time. You'll have to hear that tonight. I want to talk to Patrick Wood about this. 2026, and they're at the White House, got a robot walking out with the First Lady. Now, if someone had told you this 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, you would have a hard time believing that's where we're at. But here is where we are. Here's where we are. It is reality. You're seeing it today. C-SPAN. Absolutely amazing. Well, how does this fit in with technocracy, transhumanism, and these topics by Patrick Wood? I also want to be joined tonight by Hedieh Mirahmadi, the former Muslim who tried setting up moderate networks throughout the Middle East in over 30 countries. Couldn't do it because there is no such thing as moderate Islam. I want to talk to her about what's going on with Iran and if we're likely to see the removal of the regime or no, someone inside on the ground just take over and they cut a deal. America cuts a deal to let the regime stay with a new leader. But we're going to have control of the Strait of Hormuz, but you get to stay. Kind of a Venezuela type situation. Find a leader within, gets to stay, but here's the deal. I want to ask Hedieh Mirahmadi all about this and what she thinks is going on. And then we'll talk a little bit about the BRICS. I want to talk with Patrick Wood about this. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, they're mulling joining the U.S.-Israel war in Iran. We also heard today 30-plus countries have now signed on out of NATO with securing the Strait of Hormuz. This is all moving very quickly, folks. But you and I know, based on the work that we've been doing together, that this is not about Iran having weapons as much. That may be one of many reasons, but they've had weapons for a long time. They've had a nuclear weapon for a long time. What this is about is trade routes, the IMEC, Al-Fal Port, Ben Gurion Port through Gaza. It's about data centers. It's about fiber lines, gas lines, oil lines. We've got a lot of news tonight, brand new stories, brand new information that we need to cover tonight with Hedieh Mirahmadi, Patrick Wood, a lot of videos, a lot of video clips, and then the dollar. Do you know that our government is supposedly insolvent, according to our own government? But yet also, folks, inflation. It's not going away. And gold and silver have dropped drastically, but now they're coming back up. Now they're coming back up. I want to talk about more of the legislation and that's being passed and where we're moving, and some institutions that don't want to let people's money out of their account. And this is, again, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion, where you don't want to be all under their thumb to control every aspect of your life. So some new economic stories to talk about tonight with Michael. Logan, do we have the little video of you in Branson back in 2004? How long is it? Not long. We're taking a lot of our old DVDs, our old videos, and we're bringing them back in the original format, higher quality, the highest quality we have that they were produced in. Because when we started putting these online in 2004, 5, and 6, we had to compress the quality down so low because half the country was still on dial-up. So I said to the team, let's go back through, grab the original high-end quality videos and put them up online so that everybody enjoying the vault at worldviewtube.com/vault has the highest quality videos of our 21 years of our national conference, not to mention all the other TV shows. We have a lot of TV shows, a lot of the Worldview weekend hours that we're doing the same thing with. We had to compress them down so low in quality to make it available for people on dial-up to watch. Now we're going to replace those old files with the high-end version. Well, while we were doing that, we stumbled on a footage. We've done this several times now. We stumbled on footage I don't even remember. I didn't even remember. And one of them is a video in 2004. It was our first National Worldview Weekend in Branson. We were there in Branson for 10 plus years. Then we moved it to Lake of the Ozarks. Last year we had it in Memphis. And this year we're moving it to Milwaukee. And our first Branson Ozarks Worldview Weekend, 2004, I don't remember this, but I invited my wife and 3 children out onto the stage to meet the crowd. And Logan, what year were you born, buddy boy? So you were a year, your birthday's in April, and this was in April. So you were about exactly a year old. You were exactly a year old in this video. You want to roll it? Okay, go.
My boy Landon. And in fact, let me get the rest of my family out here real quick, and then they're going to go man the table. My wife, Melissa, who helped register many of you, my little girl, Libby, and our little boy, Logan. Honey, come on out here real quick. Let me introduce the better-looking half of the family. My wife, Melissa. Little girl, Libby. Look at Libby. Oh, come here, Libby. So anyway, you'll see them running around this weekend, and my wife will be at the resource table helping you. And we want to introduce our family to you. And in just a minute, I'm going to invite Tim Wildman out here to introduce his mother, because you've already heard from his father. We're going to introduce Linda as well. So we're going to let them go and get to the resource table so that we have a break. They're ready to help you out. Aren't those cute kids? How many of you saw the picture?
Wow. Hey, do you want to talk about with Bush? That was a cool story. Yeah.
Pictures of our family with President Bush on the internet, on our website. Well, those kids, we met the president because of those kids. We dressed them up like that. We took them to the White House. And the White House staff said to us when they saw our kids that if the president sees these kids when he gets off Marine One, he'll come over here. And so they said, we want him to come over here. We're White House staff. He has 1,700 employees, and we don't get to meet him or be that close to him very often. And so can you let us take your family over here? We're all by yourself. We'll stand out like a sore thumb so he sees these kids. And I said, oh, sure. So the Marine One landed, and the door opened up, and President Bush walked out and immediately turned his head and saw these kids here and walked right over. And you know what? We almost left the kids at home. So that's a lesson to you, dads. Take those kids with you everywhere.
And we did. We took those kids with us everywhere. We wore out a motor coach, 150,000 miles in one motor coach, then had to get a new one and traveled in that one. But we took these kids everywhere. So anyway, I thought it was a fun little video. Logan, you are a year old. How did your old man do this for so many years without you? Can you believe I did do it for so many years without you? You kind of are shocked? Well, I had another, huh? Yeah, you lived it. You watched it all take place. He asked me the other day, who helped you do all this stuff that I help you do now? I said, oh yeah, I had Michael Nini. And what was the other guy? Easton, Michael Nini, Steve Gamble. Steve Gamble, he just passed away. Can you look up when Steve died? Steve passed away, I think, 4 years ago? I've known Steve Gamble for a gazillion years, since the mid-'80s. So yeah, I had Steve Gamble. I had Easton. We had Michael Nini. Michael's been working with us since he was 17. He's now 42 years old. I'm not kidding. Been working with us since he was 17 years old. He's now 42. So I had all those people helping me doing what Logan does now. So there you go. There you go. All right, we got a big program. I love bringing out those videos. I forgot all about that. Isn't that fun? Logan, I don't have video of myself when I was 1 year old. Most people in this audience don't have video of them when they were 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and growing up. We got all kinds of video of you growing up. I don't have any video of me growing up. That technology just was, people had the little cameras, the reel-to-reel cameras, what do you call them? 8 millimeter. But it wasn't something common. Most families just didn't spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff. So the families that do, they got real treasures. But I don't have any footage like that. So it's pretty unique that you, in the span of history, have so much video footage of yourself growing up. Kind of fun. Remember, folks, we'll bring more of that to you as we find it, as we go through all of our videos and find this stuff. You like what we're doing here? You appreciate what we're doing? worldviewtube.com/sponsors. These are great products. So go ahead, use these products, the Squish for Life, the Numi, that's got the glutathione in it to detox your cells. Some studies show may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia. The Gatatana, I take that each and every day. I drink it with my dinner each and every day. One little scoop, equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. Dolly gets a half a scoop on her food every morning. We have Worldview Talk, that's your satellite phones, your solar generators, bulletproof backpacks, dollyfood.shop. Dolly loves this food. 100% all natural, human grade. And Melissa made the comment yesterday again. She said, Brandon, I just cannot believe how much we have decreased the number 2 in the backyard. I don't want to get too graphic here, folks. But she said, Brandon, it was just way too much. And it's cut down by more than half the amount of number 2 the dogs are doing in the backyard since we put them on this food. I said, that's because most of the food they were eating was filler. It was no good, had really no nutritional value, filler, and it went right through them, passed through them. They're actually digesting this food and they have less waste. Go research that for yourself. That's not me just selling a product. Go research that for yourself. That means my dogs are actually digesting the food, getting the nutrients they need, and having less waste. So there you go. Very, very positive. Dollyfood.shop. Melissa House Clean. You can check that out. Bella Grace. I take that each and every day as well. My Numi, my Gatatana, my Bella Grace. All of that there. Check it all out at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All right, we got a lot to do, so let's get going. Joining me now is Patrick Wood. We have plenty of things to talk about, that's for sure. One of the things we obviously have to talk about is this video right here today, folks. Watch this. I'll just take down the music. Look at that. That is literally a robot she's walking out with. And the robot's going to come around to the front of the table and then actually talk to the people. This is not one of Elon's robots, I understand. Right, Logan? Not one of Elon's robots. All right, it's going to walk around the table. Look at that. Negotiating between the wall and the president of France's wife right there. That's Emmanuel Macron's wife. I guess those are probably other world leaders' wives, I'm guessing. I don't know. Well, there it is. Now, is he going to greet everybody?
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House. It is an honor to be at Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition inaugural meeting. I'm Figure 3, a humanoid built in the United States of America. I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Yokoso. Bienvenue. Bem-vindos. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Speaking lots of languages there. Wow.
Mogisalmabit. Profimo Baim. Lascavo Prossimo. Dobrodošli.
This went on for 3 hours,
Thank
Logan.
you.
Just kidding. Wow. Someone had told you 1988, 1980, 1970. This would happen. Would you believe it? Look at the thing goes back around the corner. All right, see you later. You know what? That's that famous red carpet. I think that's the East Room, if I remember correctly. That's that famous red carpet. Is somebody going to open the door for it when it gets to the end? That's what I want to see. Is he going to kick the door in like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Come on now. Don't stop. Let's see what this robot does. I want to see it kick the door down and goes through those double doors.
Good morning.
That's the famous red...
Welcome to the White House.
That's the... Whoop, it's going to go off to the side. Look at that. That's that famous red carpet in the East Room. We see a lot of presidents walk down to give speeches. One day, we're likely to see a robot walk down there and dress the American people because they've decided it's better to turn everything over to AI. I'm being somewhat facetious, but the way this is going, who knows? I mean, what did she have to say about all this?
Honor of fostering the future together. It's fair to state you're my first American-made humanoid guest in the White House. But moreover, it is my distinct honor to receive such an impressive group of leaders today. 45 of you have traveled from every corner of the planet to represent your nation as a part of this new coalition.
Wow. You know what's interesting? I don't know. Someone go check. The presidential logo, the seal, the presidential seal. Really interesting how many times they have used the presidential seal when she speaks. I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I just think that's very unique. Normally, historically, the presidential seal is safe for when the president is speaking and doing something. But I've noticed a couple times now in the last few months where she's speaking and she has the presidential seal in front of her, which I find very interesting. I think there's another clip. Yeah, let's see what she had to say about this humanoid robot. Here we go.
Through our cities. Robots hold steady hands in the operating room. And drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI.
Now, this is not the same event, but that is just another example of where we're going. And I think we have another one from today. Here we go.
Our world is transforming, and through the use of AI, we can now access centuries' worth of humanity's knowledge base. The future of AI is personified. It will be formed in the shape of humans. Very soon, artificial intelligence will move from our mobile phones to humanoids that deliver utility. Since our environment is designed for people, humanoid systems are uniquely suited to navigate and operate within our world. They fit well. Imagine a humanoid educator named Play-Doh. access to the classical studies is now instantaneous. Literature, science, art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus of information is available in the comfort of your home. Play-Doh will provide a personalized experience, adaptive to the needs of each student. Play-Doh is always patient and always available. Predictably, our children will develop deep critical thinking and independent reasoning abilities. The AI-powered Play-Doh will boost analytics skills and problem solving and adapt in real time to a student's pace, prior knowledge, and even emotional state.
Okay, can I just stop and say that if this wasn't Melania Trump, there would be a lot of conservatives out tonight asking critical questions. Now, I don't know what the First Lady means when she uses these words. I don't know who wrote the speech. I'm guessing that Mrs. Trump doesn't mean anything nefarious. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think she does. But I do know this for a fact, that the educrats, and remember my second book on education, my second book was on education, came out in 1993, Cradle to College and Educational Abduction. Then next one in 95. The one in 95, and by the way, you don't have to buy any of my 19 books. They're available in the vault for you automatically as a member. So don't go buy them. Don't pay, $50 or whatever they go for on Amazon, some of the older ones. You'll get them right there as part of your membership as a PDF at worldviewtube.com/vault. You really should go to the one from 1995, Reclaiming a Nation at Risk, and read the chapter on computers being the information givers. Computers being the information givers. Can you pull that up, Logan, maybe, and show them that I'm not making this up? Because you have a First Lady here sitting here telling you that who is going to be training your child is a humanoid named Play-Doh. And if you go and read my chapter on that in Reclaiming a Nation at Risk, a chapter on computers as the information givers, that's what I'm working in my head is what it was called. I'll see how close I am. I want to say it's chapter 6, but I hope I'm not actually right, because if I am, then I'm going to start thinking I'm on the scale, Logan. That would be a little scary. But I had a chapter all about how the computers will be the teachers. And every child will be given a different assignment based on his area of weakness. Remember Dr. Pierce of Harvard, who said every child who enters school at the age of 5 is mentally ill because he comes to school with an allegiance toward our form of government, our founding fathers. And this is not what I would call the true international child of the future. I wrote about articles from the Star, the Washington Star. Many of you don't even know that paper. It went out of business. My mother had the final publication of the Star. She saved it and gave it to me last year. I have it framed in our control room. The Star. But in that book in 95, I quote one of our bureaucrats in DC talking about the schools and computers tracking every child and writing a prescription for every child's areas of weakness. Before I bring Patrick on, listen again to the words. You found it, Logan? Oh, there you go. So now that kind of scares me. I didn't think my memory was that good. Logan accuses me of being on the scale every now and then, don't you, Logan? Well, there you go. Computers, the information givers, and it's chapter 6, like I said. That's kind of scary. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. But anyway, there you go. I did write the book, but it's been a while since I've looked at it. But there you go. Here, now listen to what Melania is saying in that context, please.
Art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus of information is available in the comfort of your home. Play-Doh will provide a personalized experience, adaptive to the needs of each student.
Okay, Play-Doh will provide custom curriculum, custom training, custom tutoring for the specific needs of each student. Read that book from 1995 by Brandon House, and you'll see that's exactly what I told you was coming. And you don't got to buy it. I'm not trying to sell you anything other than a membership to the Vault for $7.99 a month. So go read that one chapter. Now listen to this. Oh, here comes my coffee and some ice. Ooh, thank you, baby. Here we go.
Play-Doh is always patient and always available. Predictably, our children will develop deep critical thinking. And
Can I ask you, who defines critical thinking? Remember, one educrat I have in my book said, critical thinking means not listening to mommy and daddy. Now, I'm not going to put all this onto Mrs. Trump because I'm not saying she's saying that. All I'm saying is, I don't know who wrote the speech. I don't know what these words mean to them, but you always got to ask the questions. What do you mean by that? Ask that one question among others. Critical thinking, personalized curriculum to help each individual child. This is what I said was coming because this is what the experts were saying back in the 1960s and 70s.
independent reasoning abilities.
Independent, I'll get that again.
Thinking and independent reason, we develop deep critical thinking and independent reasoning abilities.
Independent reasoning abilities. Independent from what? Well, Dr. Pierce said every child who come to school at the age of 5 is mentally ill because they've been trained by the parents. They need independent reasoning. Now, again, I want to stress, I'm not putting any of this onto Mrs. Trump. All I'm saying is whoever wrote this speech, I would want to ask them, what did you mean by these words? What did the educrats intend? Joining me now is Patrick Wood. Patrick, wow, you blown away by this or what, Patrick? I called you this morning. I said, have you seen the robots? Have you seen the robot walking out the White House? What did you think when you first saw it?
Wow, that's amazing. Really, I wouldn't have expected that at this point in time. It seemed a little bit premature, but nevertheless, what a photo op opportunity for the robot maker. And probably this is going to just stimulate the market, you know, all over the place. I can see people wanting to get their hands on it. This is kind of a robot.
Yeah, well, my robot could have just brought me the coffee and the bag of ice that my wife just brought. I've been living with for the last month or two. So I think she's eager for the robot so she can stop having to wait on me. So she wants Logan to order one up as soon as it's available. I mean, really, seriously, though, independent program and teaching for each individual child, critical thinking, independent reasoning. Are you joining me in the red flags of these words and what those could mean, not necessarily to the lovely Mrs. Trump, but to the educrats that have used these terms for decades now that I've been defining based on their own writings?
Exactly. You know, she touched on all of the pleasant points, so to speak, selling the product. They'll never talk about the dark side of it that we talk about. One of the things that's really disturbing is that every interaction that a robot, especially one equipped with LLMs,
what is that? What does that stand for? What is that?
That's large language models, LLMs. These are the frontier models that are being put out by ChatGPT or OpenAI, Anthropic, etc. So every interaction with a person, student included, it harvests information on you, from you. You have no control over it. It'll build a psychographic profile on you, and it'll end up knowing you better than you know yourself.
Isn't that what one of the guys said, that the program would end up knowing he was gay before he knew he was gay? Which one of them said that? Noah Harari. Wasn't it Noah Harari? Right? Logan, can you find that? I think Noah Harari said something about the computer will end up knowing you're gay before you know you're gay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, this is crazy. Of course, this is predictive, predictive
programming
analysis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So
but
this
the fact that she brought this out in 2026, I said last year several times that 2026 is going to be the year of the robot. You might remember that.
I do.
And it's here it is.
But even you are shocked that they rolled this out this morning.
I am. I really am. Yeah. For the president to do that, and his wife, I mean,
with the presidential seal in front of her, no less.
I know she was certainly doing it with the permission and the clapping of the president himself. But the fact that he's brought it out just now just tells you that the trajectory at this point is going to be hands off on the robots. Robots get a free pass from here on. Robots are going to be our friends. You might remember when you were younger, your parents or your teachers told you books are your best friend. I remember that. Books are your best friend. Get in a book, read a book, get involved with a book. Well, not anymore. The best friend is going to be a robot.
Man. And then you talk about the dark side. And can you imagine? I mean, that was a pretty benign looking robot, right? But when they start adding in the technology and they make them, look human, you think you got a problem with young guys today not getting married? There'll be no incentive for a lot of young men, hopefully the sane ones, the Christians, obviously, but for the average unsaved male, if they can start making these robots interact with them emotionally, and I won't even get into anything else, but you know where I'm talking. I mean, what will be the incentive for a young man to get married and have children and a family?
Same thing with the females as well. A female can have a personality mate, if you will, male, that listens to her, tells her what she wants to hear, says, I love you, all the things that the males struggle with in the first place, and the female psyche will be just as likely to fall in love with the robot as the males. But you're right, it's going to split apart the relationships that God ordained in the first place.
Logan, did you find it? Well, Noah Harari said that. I'm pretty sure he did say that. I'll keep looking. All right. What else do you have? What else are your thoughts about what's been going on? Let me grab a few headlines here. Here we go. India-Israel partnership holds key to value-based IMEC alternative to China's Belt and Road Initiative. And look at what the date is on that. That's today, March 25th. I don't know about you, Patrick, but every day I begin my day looking at news stories related to IMAC, Babylon. I'm on this like you. We're on this like white on rice. Here's a brand new article out today on that topic.
Yes, indeed.
And for those who maybe don't remember, that IMEC is this India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. So this is what we've been talking about, but I wanted to mention that for anyone who's watching the segment outside of all the other shows.
It's interesting. I see articles now appearing kind of pouring water on our idea that IMEC is going to be completed. And, they say, well, it doesn't have money yet, et cetera. But you see now an article like this comes out. Well, take another flavor here.
So people are pouring cold water on our programming and articles and shows?
No, not us personally. I'm saying that on the idea that IMEC is going to be a thing. You can see probably the Chinese want to do that. They want to convince everybody that IMEC's not going to harm them or take a shot at their Belt and Road Initiative. But this article clearly says something that the Iran war is doing something to block China's BRI, that's Belt and Road Initiative, and is creating strong foundations for IMEC. That's all you need to know at this point. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And when Trump is done with Iran, he's going to have access to the Strait of Hormuz, period.
Well, and then here's an article from World Israel News yesterday. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates mold joining U.S.-Israel war in Iran. Well, we know that Saudi Arabia and UAE are all part of IMAC.
They are.
So, now, I don't know if you heard the latest, by the way, the ambassador to NATO, what's his name, Whitaker, has come out and said that about 30 plus nations have signed on to the idea with NATO of getting involved with securing the Strait of Hormuz. So I don't know what you think is going to happen. I just had on Hedieh Mirahmadi, and we were knocking around our thoughts about Gog Magog, Ezekiel 38:39. I don't see a regime change. I don't think President Trump wants a regime change.
No, I don't think
I got an article here from dated yesterday, March 24th, 2023. And this is from Jerusalem Post. Iran regime change likely to take a year, Mossad chief predicted. I think it's more likely that you're going to end up with someone like this guy right here. Look at this. Why Mohammed Ghalibaf could be a critical cog in Trump's Iran project. He was born in 61, Shiite pilgrim, goes on to the fact he got married. Their wedding was officiated by Khomeini. He has 3 children. But look at him wearing a suit. And I think he's the former leader of the parliament. But Hedieh and I were just talking a while ago about look at that. Reports named Iran's parliament speaker. I think he might be the speaker right now. This is who President Trump has been reportedly talking to, or somebody in the administration. Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins, his partner is a very responsible, respected person. And other sources are saying it's him, that it's Bagher, Iran's parliament speaker. Now, Hedieh was just saying she thinks they're going to keep killing down the totem pole till they get to somebody that's willing to put on a suit and do a rebranding and kind of do the Venezuela thing. We'll work with you. And then part of the deal is you get to stay in power, you get to stay alive, you get to run your country, but we're getting control of the Strait of Hormuz. And then at some point, I don't know how long, Iran and Russia and Turkey decide they're done with this and they move against Israel with a coalition, Ezekiel 38:39. That's what my article's about today at Worldview Times. Do you see this as a viable path? Because otherwise it's a war for a year. I don't think Trump's interested in that.
Not at all. Not at all. The only thing he wants to get is access to the strait, period. This was the whole the theory behind my article that talked about IMEC in the first place. He wants control of the Strait of Hormuz, and he'll do whatever it takes to get it. And if that means, like you said, killing down the leadership until they get somebody who's willing to look like a normal person and do normal things, at least as far as trade is concerned, then they'll do that. They'll say, okay, you can stay, but watch yourself, because you mess with us on this straight business, you're out of there. That'll be the message that person receives.
So the other alternative is the Crown Prince Pahlavi going in there. And we talked about that with Hedieh. And she's saying if that's going to happen, he's going to have to take the dangerous stance of actually going in country, highly protected, but going in country and saying, I'm here, I'm ready to help you set up the government of your choice. I'll just be your interim leader until you choose who that leader will be. Now, if he were to do that, the question is, would it bring out enough people onto the streets and whatnot to have a regime change? I don't know. But that could be very dangerous, obviously, for him. But these are really your only options.
Honestly, I don't think it's about the people at all. I don't think they're going to have an election at this point. Trump will not require an election at all, because how tolerant has he been for with any other country in the Middle East, all the Gulf states? He doesn't care if they have elections or not. You know, he's fine with autocratic rulers because they get stuff done. There's no parliament, there's no political discussion on any aspect of the governance of the people. He doesn't care about that at all.
You know, it's very interesting, the words you use, because in my study on Daniel 2 on Sunday night, I said, isn't it interesting that these leaders that are called kings? We know the kings of the earth, it says in Revelation 18, are in and 17 are in a relationship with Babylon. But then we have the actual kings that are defined as these 10 horns or 10 kings. Daniel, I think it's Daniel 7. We also know this is in Revelation 13, Revelation 17. So isn't it interesting that Daniel chooses to use this word kings, whereas today we might prefer prime ministers or presidents? And I always wondered, you know, over the years, why did he use the word kings? Well, maybe he just doesn't know the word prime minister or president. But it may be because obviously the Holy Spirit wanted him to use that word kings, because that's what we got. He was writing under, Daniel and John, both writing under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, chose that word. And now it makes more sense because these individual leaders are operating with an autonomy, not in the normal democratic structure of the people deciding. But notice it's a division. The 10 horns or 10 kings coming out of the two iron legs, the divisions of Rome, is now a revived Roman Empire with 10 divisions, but they're still called kings, but their authority is not like it was with Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 2, who is described as the head of gold. You, O king, are the head of gold. He had all authority. Now, as you descend in value of the metals, you are also ascending in strength militarily, but the leaders themselves don't have the value of themselves independently. It's a collective, but they get to make decisions for their regions without the normal diplomatic processes. So it's not the same authority that Nebuchadnezzar had, but it's still not the same what we recognize with a prime minister or a president who is supposed to be empowered by the wishes and consent of the governed. These guys are making decisions on their own, and it's done for that region, these 10 regions, whatever those 10 regions of the world will be. And you're already seeing President Trump do this. So to me, it's another stage setting for getting the globe to accept a new kind of leader. Is that what you're saying? Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, let me tell you, I said last year that this would be the year of the robots. Let's make a proclamation here that this decade will be the decade of the kings. Let's just say it. Let me just read you a definition that I just got out of the encyclopedia. A king is generally defined as a male monarch, a sovereign ruler of a state or territory within a monarchy, usually holding the office for life and often receiving it by hereditary succession through some kingship, although some kingships have been elective. Now, this is the definition of a monarch as well. This is exactly what Trump did when he took the helm at the Board of Peace. He said, "I'm the ruler here. I'm the king. I'm going to leave it to my heirs, and I'll point my successor, and you can't stop me at that point." So, you know, this is the definition of all the leaders in the Gulf states. The king of Saudi Arabia, for instance, the king of the UAE, they're kings. This is a definition of a king. This is exactly what the encyclopedia says. So you can see, well, yes, it seems to me that Daniel used the right word. It's the king. A king is not like any other category in the world.
And I'm not aware of anyone else having this conversation but you and me, right? And the interesting thing is, I think you and I came to it independently of each other, right? I came to it when I was studying Daniel too. I'm like, why are they called kings? Well, look how these guys are operating. You've come to it in your study, and now here we are together talking about it. And the point I'm trying to make is there are so many things in the Bible that we read and reread and reread, and we just kind of gloss over it because it doesn't have any meaning to us. It didn't have any meaning to us a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But now all of a sudden you're reading the passage and you're like, wait a minute. Now it has meaning. Kings was not just because he didn't know the word president or prime minister. He could have chosen the words ambassador, representatives.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Emissary, right? Counselor, advisor. I mean, these would have been words that would have been okay in the vocabulary of Daniel or in John for Daniel for Revelation. Daniel for the book of Daniel or John for the book of Revelation. Because they're writing in their own vocabulary. Well, obviously, Daniel working in the king's court would have known other words. But the Holy Spirit directed him to use that word kings. But that didn't have any context to us a few years ago. Now it does. And the point I'm trying to make is, folks, the word of God is coming more and more and more into focus. And as you study the Bible, never think to yourself, oh, I've studied that. I was thinking to myself 2 nights ago, you know what I need to do? I need to turn around and reteach the book of Revelation. Not so much maybe for you, but for me. I need to reteach it and reteach it and reteach it until I am so immersed in the book of Revelation. Same thing with the book of Daniel. So that it's right here with the recall. And as I do that, more and more things are going to become evident that I didn't see before. It made no sense to me. But now the things of this world are becoming more focused with what the scriptures told us. And isn't that a testament to the power of the word of God? It is, God writes history before it happens. And this is a perfect example. That makes me excited to look at what other areas have I read that had no real connotation or meaning to me. But those things will start to reveal themselves as these events unfold. Thoughts?
We have no history in America to understand what a king is, much less a monarchy. And monarchy and kingdoms are associated with each other. We see the term monarchy used in the Saudi Arabia, for instance. It's a monarchy. This is the definition of monarchy. This goes along with a king. A monarchy is a form of government in which a single individual, a monarch, such as a king or queen, serves as a head of state with authority, typically inherited through hereditary succession. That's important. It's one of the oldest political systems in the world, once dominant worldwide. So we can say, well, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So we don't see a lot of monarchies today or kings, but it's going to come back. That's the point. I think this would be a good time to declare this will be the decade that we see the kings return to planet Earth.
Wow. All right, let's see what else we got. We have so many things going on. They're moving so fast. I suppose you saw today that America's ambassador to the NATO said that 30 plus nations have now signed on to secure the Strait of Hormuz. So I don't see I don't see a regime change in Iran. I think they're going to go down the totem pole and put someone else in there, and that could wrap this thing up pretty quick, right?
So why don't they say, well, we want regime change in Iran, or why don't they say, let's free the students in Iran, or let's help the people get rid of these tyrants in Iran? Because
that's not the goal.
That's not exactly. That's my point. Everybody's talking about the strait. That's the only thing that matters in this war and with Iran. Nothing else. this is why I hit on this concept with IMEC in the first place. It was all about trade. And if this trade route gets, or the corridor gets destroyed because Iran won't play ball, that's going to cost somebody trillions and trillions of dollars eventually. They can't have that. That can't happen. They're not going to let it happen. And finally, Europe was on the back burner on this whole thing. They've kind of put a cold shoulder to the IMEC idea, even though they're all licking their chops to get access to it, right? So all of a sudden, this smoked them all out. And they're, we're all with you, President Trump. Go, baby. Get rid of that all those dictators over there that want to close the Strait of Hormuz. We all need it. We all know we need it. So let's get the job done.
And I wonder how much of this has been theater. Coordinated
totally.
Theater. They all knew what they were going to do, when they were going to do it, and they're rolling it out little at a time with their agreements. Now what I'm wondering if is Donald Trump is good cop and Benjamin Netanyahu is bad cop, right? I think that's going on, because I don't know if you heard what Benjamin Netanyahu had to say today, but he's basically saying this war is going to go on. And I think Iran is scared of Israel to a degree, for sure. And I think, it's my opinion, I could be wrong, that President Trump is doing the art of the deal in some regards, and he's trying to be perceived as the negotiator and the deal maker, and that Benjamin Netanyahu out here is coming, Iran, to eliminate you and keep killing down the totem pole. But I can stop him. I can stop him if you will come to the table and negotiate. So President Trump's like, the war is over, we're ending this, war is over, we're ending this. And then it keeps going. And it's like Netanyahu's not stopping. But at some point you wonder, are these guys playing good cop, bad cop? So Trump can finally say, but if you will just come to the table, I can get him to stop. Because here's what Benjamin Netanyahu said today. All right, well, I don't speak Hebrew, but let me just tell you what he said. What he said was, it has been finally decided to do everything to fundamentally change the situation in Lebanon. And of course, that's Hezbollah, that's Iran. He said the campaign with Iran is still in full swing, contrary to what is being reported in the media. So he's not backing down. How much of this is good cop, bad cop, theater, stage setting to get Iran to negotiate, let this new leader, the Speaker of the Parliament, rise, wearing a suit? Hedieh says a rebrand. Trump gets to declare a victory, but we've got control now, this group does, of the Strait of Hormuz. And they use that as leverage to keep Iran in line.
Yeah. You have to figure at this point, Trump has the last word. I'm sorry. And I'm not endorsing him. I'm just saying Trump will have the last word regardless of what Israel said. Mm-hmm. And so the strait will be in Western hands again, and never to be closed again, I hope, and on one sense. But once they have this in their hand, all the rhetoric from Israel will disappear. There's nowhere else for them to go at this point other than shut up and play ball. And remember, Trump is in charge of Gaza right now, totally, as a king. As a king. It's being established as a technocratic monarchy with him as king. Now, all of a sudden, Bibi has somebody else to contend with that's not elected. He's acting as a private citizen. He's not elected. He has charge over a major territory right next to Israel now. Basically, this is splitting the land, right? I don't like that either. But he has a new ally, or is it will it end up being a frenemy? Who knows at this point? But Bibi has to toe the line to President Trump, not the other way around. All these people are saying, Trump is subject to the lobby in America, and he's led by the nose by Netanyahu, and all this nonsense. I got news for you. Trump is emerging as the strong man. He fits the definition of a king and is being installed, or has installed himself in Gaza as king of Gaza. You can't make this up, Brandon. You just can't.
Oh, sure can't. I want to go back real quick to Noah Harari. I did look it up, and I guess he did make the point multiple times, drawing from his own personal experience, broader warnings about AI and data systems. Harari, who is openly gay, shared, and I think this is CBS News. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. The power of data, artificial intelligence, and the future of the human race. And I think it was in this interview is where he said that AI will end up knowing more about you than you know. I don't know if this is where he actually, yeah. I came out as gay when I was 21 years old, he said. It should have been obvious to me when I was 15, but something in the mind blocked it. Now, if you think about a teenager today, Facebook can know that they are gay, or Amazon can know that they are gay long before they do, just based on analyzing patterns. I thought he had said that.
Yeah,
and that goes back to where we started with the conversation of these personalized robots that will know everything about you.
Yes. This is so disturbing because the young generation is going to be completely captured at some point by robotics equipped with AI. And the fact that there's a robot attached to the AI, this is a big step forward, because when you just look like at a tutor-based AI on your screen in your computer or your laptop or even a tablet or your phone, that's totally impersonal at this point. You can maybe see an image of somebody, but it's impersonal. With a robot that you can touch, you can interact with as a human, this adds another layer of trust. And for whatever reason, people trust the robot more than they will trust their screen. That means they'll tell anything that's on their mind to the robot, and the robot will dutifully harvest all that information, build a psychographic profile on the student, and then turn around and manipulate the student into another worldview, another position, another philosophy, ideology. You can just see the handwriting is on the wall for this, Brandon. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk to you about real quick, and that is, like, what are they? Google glasses, guys? The Meta Ray-Ban, Meta smart glasses. I don't know. Have you seen the story? Can someone let the studio dog Dolly in before she scratches the door down, please? She's very persistent. Now, if I had a robot, I could ask Play-Doh to go over there and open the door for Dolly, will you? How soon can I get me one of those? I wonder what the price point will be, Logan. Come here, Dolly. You want to say hi to everybody tonight? You sure we're persistent about getting in? Are you afraid you might miss something interesting or what? Glad to have you here. You stink. You need a bath. These Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses, or people wearing the equivalent of police body cameras. I don't know if you saw the video footage. Maybe you can show it, Logan. TMZ probably has it. The video footage of, I guess, the guy that plays the part Reacher.
Yes.
Is it Jack Reacher, Logan?
Jack Reacher, yeah.
And this dude's big. I think he's like 6'3", and he's just like the Incredible Hulk. I didn't know he lived a few miles away, 3 hours away in Nashville, Tennessee, in Brentwood. I had no idea. But apparently he was riding his motorbike with his two sons in his neighborhood, and apparently a neighbor didn't like what he was doing and stepped out in front of him to stop him. And I think pushed him, if I remember from what the guys admitted. And Reacher wasn't having it, quote Reacher. I mean, like, how much of a dingling do you have to be to get in the face of a guy that's 6'3" and about as wide as he is tall, built like a truck. I mean, has anyone seen this guy? Why would you do that? Number one. I'm like, number two, it's the guy playing Reacher, and he lives in your neighborhood, which can't be hurting property values because it obviously shows you live in a pretty nice neighborhood and it's attracting some high-end people. So you might thank the guy for living in your neighborhood because I'm sure it's probably helping your property values because it's setting your neighborhood up as kind of a nice place to live because he could probably live in a lot of places. He chooses here. But instead of being the guy's friend, apparently you step off into the street and this confrontation goes down. Now, as I watched this video, and I've watched these reports over about 3 days, what impressed me was the fact that Reacher, quote Reacher, I don't know what his real name is, was wearing a body camera. Have you seen this, Patrick?
I didn't see it. No, I hadn't seen it. I didn't see that aspect.
He's wearing a body camera.
Interesting.
And because he was filming everything, I think it exonerated him. And now the last report I read is there are going to be no charges. And he chose apparently not to press any charges against the neighbor, which was really nice of him.
Yeah.
But it showed me, wow. Now, as people come unhinged, I don't know how much you go out in public. I try to avoid it because people are crazy. Not this audience, of course, excluded. But people have gotten crazy since COVID. And Dr. McCullough and Dr. Thorpe and Nick Holscher, these guys have done peer-reviewed studies showing that some of these people have gotten these shots and multiple boosters. It's worked with their brain. They're not necessarily all there anymore, right? It's causing cognitive problems.
Yeah.
And I don't go out much because more and more people act unhinged. And there have been times I thought, wow, I wish I had a body camera on to catch how unhinged that person acted. Not too long ago, my wife and I came out of a play. We were seeing The Sound of Music. Came out of the theater, and there was a security guard sitting in a golf cart, and he had it was in February, and it was cold here, and he had a plastic covering on his golf cart so he could stay warm inside of it. And I was talking to him on the driver's side. He was on the driver's side. And because he had this plastic cover, I couldn't see that there was a woman on the other side of the golf cart who apparently was talking to him. Well, I couldn't see her. She's on the other side of the golf cart with this plastic thing. All I could see was him. And I said, hey, sir, do you know where? And I was going to ask him where this parking garage was, which side it was on. She all of a sudden steps around the back of the golf cart. And this woman might as well have been riding on a broom. I mean, W-I-T-C-H, witch. I'm talking to him. And I'm like, gee, you are clearly a man-hater. What's your problem, babe? I didn't say anything. I should have, but I didn't. And I had the same experience earlier in the evening, the same night, same play. I came out of the bathroom and got in line to get a bottle of water. And I thought this woman was in line to the ladies' room, which was right there. And she turns around and says to me, I was here first. And I'm like, oh, I am so sorry. I thought you were in the line to the ladies' room. And she just came unglued on me. I'm like, who acts like this to people? Okay? I mean, first of all, normally if that happens to me, I let it go. It's not worth the confrontation. But twice in one night. And then I said something, my wife said something to my daughter. And my daughter said she had that same experience where she lives with a few people that came unglued at them. And I know it's a long story, but here's the point. As people become more enraged and crazy, I've said to myself, I'm not sure I really want to go out a lot without a body camera on or a pin in my shirt that's recording, because they make pins, by the way, that have cameras on them that are recording, because at some point somebody's going to do something dumb, particularly if they know who you are and they entice you and they swing at you. And then you're going to be left trying to explain your side of the story. He said, she said. And it's kind of to the point where, like, you might be better protected and served when you go out in this crazy world where people have taken too many psychotropics and crazy COVID shots and are, cuckoo or Cocoa Puffs, to be wearing a device. And if Reacher, did you have the video footage, Logan? If If Reacher didn't have the video footage on, he might be looking at charges. I wonder how much of this is going to play into our society, but also be encouraged for AI. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I can see that, especially if a body camera sends footage to your phone. That's normally the MO at this point. Your phone is the receiver, the catcher, if you will, for the first footage. And we all know that anything gets on your phone in the first place, it can be transmitted into the cloud. And probably at this point, it would be transmitted into the cloud. Do you want all of your body footage to camera footage to be transmitted up to somebody in the cloud, AI especially? I probably don't think so.
Now, see, now that's him. That's him wearing his own body camera.
Yeah,
but look at that guy. That guy come up to him. It looks like he shoved him.
Yeah.
So that saved him possibly from a charge. Because he's about to get off his bike. He's about to get off his bike to take care of business. But he wasn't the one that instigated it, according to that footage.
Yeah, the guy went nuts on him.
So you think we're headed to an era where AI and Ray-Ban glasses and Meta glasses and all this stuff become more and more part of the human life?
You know, you have to expect it. For instance, look at the Apple Watch. How many people do you see wearing an Apple Watch?
Yep.
It transmits all of your biometric data back to your phone, and then it gets uploaded in the cloud. You have no control over it at that point. And all these apps are saying, most of them are saying, well, we own this data. Once we have our hands on it, we can use it for other things, including marketing or, put it collecting on you particular about your health and so on, and transmit it up to whoever, the Department of Health. So, you can see the mindset is changing in society. Well, it's okay to just let the Apple Watch to take my data and transmit it. It'll be the same thing with these cameras at some point. Now, it's not totally smart to wear glasses that everybody knows that take a picture of them. Be discreet, at least. Put a pen in your pocket, like you said. That's the little spy camera, and nobody will understand what you're doing at that point. But you don't want to go with these glasses into like a biker bar or something and take a picture of them. They won't like that at all. It'd be beat to a pulp. But this is going to be the norm, I think, going forward. You and I will never do that, but a lot of people will be fine with it and think that this is the greatest thing that ever happened to them. And I don't think so. Now, you can have a little spy pen if you want one, or a body cam. You don't have to transmit it to your phone. You can just take it, put a chip in it, memory chip, take it out, put it on your computer, read it as a local file perhaps. Don't transmit it, but as soon as you do, it's going to be private property of somebody else at that point. You don't want to do that. Period.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are living in very interesting times, are we not?
Indeed, we are. Yeah. Okay. So we now know this is the year of the robots. This is the decade of the kings, and now take your body camera off.
Yeah. If you come in my house, take off your body camera. How many people are going to be saying that, right? Or are you wearing a body camera? I mean, is that how most of our social meals and dinners will take place with friends? Maybe you guys wearing a body camera?
How about when you go on a date with somebody?
You still go on dates, Patrick? Logan, did you know Patrick goes on dates? He just said,
no, not me.
Does your wife know you go on dates?
No. Think about somebody like Logan, for instance. Do you
Logan,
ask that question?
Does your girlfriend know you go on dates?
Well, you get the idea. That's the first question you shouldn't be asking. Do you have a body cam? Can you please turn it off?
Yes, that'll be you pick the young lady up at the door. If you're wearing a body camera, please leave it at home right now. Logan's laughing about that. But that's crazy.
It is.
By the way, how many of us in our lifetime, if we're honest, did indeed lose our temper with somebody at some point, snapped at them, and thought later, boy, I'm sure glad that's not on camera. Because that would make, right? I mean, anybody that's been alive long enough as you and I have probably snapped at somebody at some point in public, and they may have deserved it. But later you think, oh, that really wasn't the best testimony or example.
No.
I sure am glad that's not on camera. Well, guess what? You better be worried now because it may be. You don't know who's wearing what anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Can make a big difference in your resume, for instance.
Let me ask you one final thing. Hedieh and I were talking about BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. And we were going through the nations that make up BRICS.
Mm.
We know that a lot of this is also about breaking up not only the Belt and Road Initiative, but we know it's got to also be a lot about breaking up BRICS. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the nations that are involved in BRICS, you see that some of them are the nations that Trump is now wooing into this IMAC and all this, right?
Yes.
So he's going to have to break away
India,
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yep. I'll say this. BRICS is over. I thought this for a long time. I said it multiple times in recent history, but BRICS is over as far as I'm concerned. Now, it will still go on and have propaganda, whatever, pumped out. The communist countries like South Africa and Brazil, they'll be complaining all the way along the way. But at this point, BRICS doesn't have a chance with this new initiative.
And what is going to be the cryptocurrency that replaces it?
You mean the USD one?
Yes.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Which is why I thought it was so funny. Pardon, go ahead.
Well, I just to say, all of this stuff that's been going on since Trump got in office. This wasn't just last month. He started out of the gate to rearrange the world. He said, we're going to get Mexico, we're going to get Greenland, we're going to get the Panama Canal back. We're going to have trade routes around the Arctic. We're going to have whatever. We're going to do this digital currency thing now, and he's done this all just in the last 14 months. Mm-hmm. It's been stunning, and
that's why I found it kind of funny today. Let me show you a quick video clip. When Matthew Whitaker, the U.S. ambassador to NATO, was talking about, well, we really have no interest in that region, really. We have no real interest in that region. President Trump's just securing the Strait of Hormuz for all our NATO partners and others. I'm like, dude, you're not watching the show, apparently. Because he kept saying, there's no benefit, really.
Non-committal to what they could bring to the fight or bring to help us. But they have done things that I think goes sometimes unnoticed. We had several allies here in Europe and in NATO that were providing key and crucial basing, overflight, and access that whether it's Suda Bay, where I was in Greece on the Isle of Crete, or whether it was, other countries, including Germany and France, that were providing our ability to prosecute this fight. So, there are key allies that are contributing, that are providing things. We just want more, and we need more, because even though President Trump has been very clear, Maria, that, we don't need this, it's good to act as a group of nations, because this is ultimately going to help everyone. And an Iran that does not have a nuclear weapon.
We don't need this, he said. We don't really need this. And he said earlier, this really isn't about us. Like, dude, you clearly have not been read in or not paying attention, or you're just not being forthright. I don't know which one, but I'm not buying what they're selling. Are you?
Not hardly. I've been watching Europe, especially backing away from Trump and everything he's doing in Iran. And I know just by looking at the little signs, these people are they're cheering Trump because they know Trump is going to deliver the goods to them in their own interest. And now they've come out, they say, well, okay, we're going to back you. We're going to send resources or whatever. We're going to help you win this battle. and open up the Strait of Hormuz. Period.
And it's so interesting because in the first term, all these leaders seem to hate him, right? And when he was out of office for the 4 years, they all seem to hate him. But all of a sudden, wow, we love Trump. We love Trump, right? I mean, it's fascinating. I showed this to Hedieh and we'll wrap about BRICS. So look, Brazil, Russia, there's Russia, India, okay, they're gonna be peeled away because they're part of IMEC, their name's in it. China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, they're part of it. United Arab Emirates, they're part of IMEC.
Big time.
So you're going to be losing. They're breaking up the BRICS coalition. There's far more going on here than the American people and the world realize. There is an economic war, a trade war, an energy war, a technology war. There are so many things going on here. The average person isn't connecting these dots. Look at this one. Who else do you have? Then you have Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba. I mean, all of a sudden, I don't know what's going to happen in Cuba. We get control of Cuba, they won't be doing BRICS. Malaysia, Nigeria, Thailand, Uganda, Uzbekistan, and then now Vietnam. But the big players are being taken out of there. India, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Fascinating.
So, yeah, something is really going on, and we see these tectonic shifts in the global order. And we have to say this again. I think when the Trilateral Commission members stood up in 2023 and said, this is year one of the new international economic order, if we take him at his word, we can say, well, okay, so the old order that was used to be called the new world order, that's all. This is gone. The old order is gone at this point. What we have forming right now before our eyes is a new world order, and it's going to be radically different from the old one. And this is where people get mixed up. Well, there's the old, the new. It looks like the old is still with us, but people are trying to get their head around it. But it won't work. You have to look at the new world order with new glasses, new insight, and new tools.
100%.
Period.
100%. Technocracy.news, there it is. Technocracy.news. And Patrick, I sent you a blurb. I don't know if you got it yet, but I sent you a blurb for your new book. When's it coming out? What's the title?
It's coming out very soon. I'm hopefully going to deliver it to the printer by Friday of this week, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And the title will be, You Will Own Nothing, The New Economics of Technocracy.
You will own nothing. There you go. Let us know when it's out. We'll promote it so people can go buy it.
I will.
Logan, show the lineup real quick for this fall. Think we're going to have plenty to talk about this fall when we have our National Worldview Weekend, Patrick, this October?
I'm ready. I'm writing my speech 50 times over between now and then.
Logan, do we have a graphic on that? He's pulling it up. But it's Patrick Wood, myself, Andy Woods, Sharam Hadian, Alex Newman, Dr. Erwin Lutzer, Annie Cyrus. It's free. We're making it free for the first time in 22 years. We'll get our foundation to try to raise the funds and take a couple big offerings. Building alone will cost $10,000 for the 2 days to rent that very building you're seeing right there. That we filled up for one night in April, but this will be Friday night, all day Saturday. You can get your free tickets at worldviewtube.com/events. Is it event or events plural? Events plural. worldviewtube.com/events. I think we have a lower third for it. worldviewtube.com/events to get your ticket absolutely free. But you will have to have a ticket so we don't overfill the building. All right. Patrick Wood checking in tonight from Technocracy.news with a new book coming out. Stand by, be ready. We'll tell you when you can order it. Thank you, Patrick, for all you do.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator, so I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, they'll tell you what size you need. worldviewtalk.com or 1-866-738-3224. Joining me now is Hedieh Mirahmadi. Hedieh, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us. For those who maybe don't know, give us the quick thumbnail sketch of your background, your bio.
Oh, sure. So great to be with you, as always. I was a federal contractor for the U.S. government for 20 plus years, and then had a radical encounter with the Lord Jesus Christ, and now continuing the battle from the outside.
And you worked in 32, 35, how many Muslim
35.
nations? 35 Muslim nations, and trying to set up moderate networks. And of course, moderate Islam is no such thing. So you were able to set up 0 moderate networks in 35 nations, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Are any of those nations ones we're dealing with today that are on the, in the news every day? Can you name a couple of them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In Lebanon, we tried very hard in Lebanon. In Jordan, who else? So the UK, France. It was not just Muslim nations. It was nations all over the world that were trying to fight radicalization, especially in the West. So it's a number of those countries. I can't even remember which ones are part of this coalition. But for the most prominently, I would say Lebanon. We didn't try to build them in Saudi. That was, I traveled to Saudi, traveled to the UAE, but they were not receptive.
Mm. So you've probably now read up on IMEC. I mean, I guess this was going on some time ago. I have a video I played today for radio and television. It's it's an Indian newscast that put out the information, which is quite interesting that this was being covered, but somehow I missed it. But now Patrick and I have been on it big time, and we're staying on it. And every day, pretty much, we're finding new information on this India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, IMEC. Have you had a chance to look over this? And what are your thoughts when you look at these? Jordan, I guess, is going to get involved. United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, United States, Israel. I mean, these are just a few that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know nearly as much as you and Patrick. I've just been listening to your broadcast and read a couple of articles about it. But I wonder if it's also, does it predate or is it after the whole BRICS attempt?
Yes, their memorandum of understanding was signed back in 2023.
Okay. Because it seems like a counterweight to basically include other nations that were excluded from the BRICS alliance and basically add the U.S. in as well. Is that your take as well?
Well, it seems to definitely be a group of countries that are going to compete against China's Belt and Road Initiative. China's Belt and Road Initiative seems to be the absolute target of this in a lot of ways.
Well,
and I would go through the list of BRICS countries and to see how many of those are involved. In fact, let me do that real quick. I got the list of BRICS nations here because I went through it on my Sunday night Bible study real quick. Here we go. So here's the BRICS countries. The biggest ones are Brazil, Russia, India, China. So India, it makes you wonder if they're going to end up pulling India out of this. If India will end up breaking with BRICS, because, President Trump is pushing, what is it called, Logan? The USD1? The USD1, that's his kind of cryptocurrency that he and the boys are pushing, right, Logan? So if that's going to be the cryptocurrency of this thing, then that would break apart BRICS. So you got Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia goes bye-bye. Egypt, they'll likely go out. United Arab Emirates, they'll go out. And you got Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Iran. Now, that's the major 11. But then we have in there added, of course, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Nigeria, Thailand, Uganda, Uzbekistan, and then Brazil announced Vietnam being added. So this whole thing seems to be very much about trade, money, deals, and countering BRICS and countering Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah, because if you remember back in the Biden administration, a lot of the Gulf countries were very mad at the Biden administration. They're mad at the LGBT, this trans policy and just his unfavorability to those nations. And then when Trump came in, he was very angry at the creation of BRICS. So to me, empowering this IMAC thing and pulling out those countries into IMEC, something that the U.S. is involved in, seems like a strategic trade goal of his. And would be quite successful and in our interest. I know you and Patrick were talking about it would decrease America's interest in the world or influence in the world, but I think it would be to our advantage not to have BRICS be successful.
Oh, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And we had Netanyahu today being honest, and he said, look, oil is heavily involved in this. And he went on to explain the importance of oil. And now, of course, he's being attacked today. People are saying, like Steve Bannon and others I read on social media, saying that this was a stupid thing for him to say. But hey, he's being honest. And when you're a little country the size of New Jersey, your energy is vital, right? So it is a national security issue. So why would we? I don't think we should be criticizing him for being honest. If it's oil's involved, then go ahead and say, yeah, this is also about oil and trade and our being able to survive. I don't know why you criticize a guy for being honest about it, but he did say that. And yet, at the same time today, with Dr. Andy Woods and Dr. Rob Lindstedt, two guys that are very strong Christian Zionists, both of them said, I think we're being a little deceived here, or at least not read in on everything. This cannot be simply all about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. And that's what I was saying last week. Last week, I was saying, wait a minute. Iran has had a nuclear weapon for at least 10 years. The late CIA analyst, Dr. Peter Vincent Price, said at this very desk, sadly, he's passed away because I'd love to know what he thinks about all this. But he said, look, they likely have one or two or more nuclear weapons already. And they're working on all kinds of IBCMs and whatnot. So as I said last week, why the urgency? But as I said on radio today, I haven't been read into the national security. So if there was a more imminent threat, then I really do think they owe it to Americans, and Israel owes it to Israelis to tell us, okay, yeah, they've had a nuclear weapon for a long time, but here is why it was the imminent threat. Until I see that, I'm sorry, I have to say, yes, Iran was a threat. They are the largest, if not one of the largest funders of terrorism around the globe. Fine. They have showed off cargo ships with launchers on them. So, yep, they could launch missiles right off our coast. Sure, they're a threat. But why are we doing this now? And it seems to coincide with the Biden regime even getting involved with a meeting. And we have the picture of Biden there and others with IMEC and this memorandum of understanding, and now grabbing the Strait of Hormuz. And then we read Jared Kushner's plan and Witkoff's plan for Gaza and rebuilding Gaza. You see, they talk all about the fact that Iran has had their proxies there in Gaza, and that's got to be dealt with. That this is all tied together between IMEC, Gaza, and the Abraham Accords. So I'm not buying so much that there was an imminent threat as much as the bigger driver was the Strait of Hormuz. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll remember one of the other countries that I was very involved in was Iraq. And I remember the same conversation where we were talking about WMD, weapons of mass destruction, the yellow cakes, and it was about oil. It was about securing the oil fields of Iraq. So it's not surprising that that conversation is not happening in the public. For some reason, it's politically incorrect to be honest about what we're trying to do. So I'm not surprised that it may be the same situation here. But I think in terms of the timeline, Trump's language about what he plans for the future has kind of changed, if you notice. He's not talking about the next term, his third term, that everybody was afraid of. And it seems like he wants everything lined up for, as you talked about with Patrick, becoming king of Gaza and the king of the Gulf, where this is his, long-term strategy is, what am I going to do the day after? And so I think he's simultaneously trying to do what he thinks is good for America, which is getting rid of the largest terror network in the world, and building his influence in the Gulf and in this trade deal. So I think the timing is also, let's do it in far enough advance before the midterms and before he leaves office. Let it be a big win. and then he can go out and do all the things that he intends to do throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world.
I think you and I and Patrick are on the same page. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu. I played this today on radio, but I think it bears replaying for anyone that missed it. Here it is.
And if you think that the oil markets are in trouble today, think of Iran with nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. Then think of the blackmail that you would endure.
I didn't exactly ask, however, why the Israel's... No, I think I only fair to... This is a serious subject. This is a serious... My question...
Go ahead.
We don't have a lot of time.
Why you don't... This is a world war and peace here.
Of course, but you have...
There are oil fields around the world that are burning. Gas prices are going up. The war is popular here in Israel. It is not popular with many Americans. So my question was, how do you see this ending? Not why, not even when. What do you imagine the day after will look like?
Well, we have achievable goals, and I'm not going to speak about the full battle plans that we have with the United States. We're well coordinated with them. I will say this, that once we achieve our goals, then I have argued, I think, and Americans understand this very well because we're real partners. I think that what has to be done is to have alternative routes. Instead of going through the choke points of the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, in order to have the flow of oil, just have oil pipelines going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean ports, and you've just done away with the choke points for forever. That is definitely possible. So I see that as a real change that will follow this war.
And you know what he just described there? He didn't name it. He didn't name it, but he talks about it coming up there, being the alternative to the choke points and coming out to the Mediterranean. So let me go to my map. This is a map we had specifically built for our Sunday night Bible study class on this. And what he just described to you is something that was being discussed since the 1990s. I think since 1995, 96, somewhere in there. I have to go look it up. The Ben Gurion Canal. Tell me that's not what he just described. Avoiding the choke points and dumping out into the Mediterranean. He just didn't mention the name or coming through Gaza. Is that not what he just described, Hedieh?
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't know why anybody would fault him with being honest about that.
Exactly.
What's wrong with that as a goal? That you don't want Iran being a choke point for 20% of the world's oil, 25%, whatever it may be. I think that's a legitimate concern, and I think it's. But can we at some point focus also on this strategic resolution? What does the day after look like? It is because in order to achieve those goals, so I think if you look at it from Prime Minister Netanyahu, to achieve that goal, Reza Pahlavi, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, is a perfect choice. But does that align with Trump's goals? Because if he's relying on what the Gulf state partners want, they want an Islamist, some sort of an Islamist, maybe not a crazy, Shiite regime like the IRGC and the mullahs, but they want someone that would be a partner for them as well. And so I'm just sitting here waiting every day, like, what does the day after look like?
All right, now let me tell you what I think might be going on. I could be 100% wrong. I'm just going to throw one theory out there. But before I do, I want to play a little portion of what I played today on radio. What is IMEC? Now, we call it IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. In India, they're going and using the acronym with an extra E in there, which would make sense because it is the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. But we just call it, most here in America is calling it IMEC. They're using the acronym IMEEC. They're getting all of it in there. I mention that because I don't want anyone to think they're talking about something different. They're not. It's the same thing. Here is from an Indian news outlet, just giving us a little bit of an understanding of how important IMEC is. Remember, this was going on. In fact, let me show the screen because look who's sitting there. There you go. That's Joe Biden. Okay. This began under Joe Biden. And with their memorandum of understanding back in 2023, but watch this.
What is IMEEC? Why is it significant? And how does it benefit India? Let's take a deep dive. India Middle East Europe Corridor is a global project aimed at boosting connectivity across Asia, West Asia, and Europe. It is set to comprise railroad, ship-to-rail networks, and road transport routes. The routes extend across 2 corridors involving 8 countries. Let's look at it on a map. The East Corridor connects India to the Gulf via UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. Meanwhile, the Northern Corridor links the Gulf to Europe via Israel, Italy, France, and Germany.
Well, there you go. Pretty fascinating. So, now, are we going to see a regime change there? I don't know. Because if you see someone like the Crown Prince Pahlavi going there, he's not going to run a coalition for Gog-Magog with Turkey and Russia to move against Israel, as we see in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now, if we are in the season of all these things, and maybe that's 20 years, 30 years, 50 years from now, but I kind of think things are moving awfully fast right now. So I think we're kind of in the season where we're seeing the stage setting for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. Taking that as what we're going to work off of today, that we're in that season, that to me means that you're probably not going to see a regime change in Iran. That someone has to stay that still is going to be aligned with Turkey, aligned with Russia, and hostile to Israel and the other Arab nations that they're going to be working with IMEC. But somehow they use a stick and carrot to get Iran under control. And I'm wondering, with all of the troops going in there and the power, and by the way, now you have NATO. We now have NATO. We have the ambassador to NATO coming out and stating that some of the NATO nations have now stepped forward and they're going to help. Let me just show you that, because I want to show you where I think this may be going. I want to see if you agree. Listen to what Matt said today on Fox Business.
Overdrive here diplomatically, pushing our allies both here in Brussels and across capitals in Europe and in the Middle East to convince everybody. Unfortunately, it took some convincing that this is more important to them than it is to the United States. I mean, we get very little, if any, oil through the Strait of Hormuz. It certainly is affecting, the oil prices of the United States. But that's one of the great things that President Trump was able to do, is to make America energy independent. And that independence obviously guarantees our supply. Now, we have allies that are finally stepping up. I think, from the time this conflict broke out, they were certainly non-committal to what they could bring to the fight or bring to help us. But they have done things that I think goes sometimes unnoticed. We had several allies here in Europe and in NATO that were providing key and crucial basing, overflight, and access, that whether it's Suda Bay, where I was in Greece on the Isle of Crete, or whether it was, other countries, including Germany and France, that were providing our ability to prosecute this fight. So, there are key allies that are contributing, that are providing things. We just want more, and we need more.
All right. So 30 plus nations are aligning this on this statement for securing Hormuz. Okay. So what if Iran realizes, look, they're killing a ton of our leaders. They're going to keep going. They now have all these, what we're going to call for our conversation, more moderate Muslim nations on their side. Now they've got 30 plus NATO nations joining. Some of these NATO nations are benefiting from this IMEC. So there's obviously the money enticement there. And the deal is basically, we're in position and we can come aboard your country and take everything. And I mean everything. Or you can agree to knock it off, but we're taking the Strait of Hormuz. And we're going to cut a deal with you, but we're going to control it. You guys can stay in power, run your country, have your oil and your energy, but you're not controlling this vital strait anymore. You can either choose to live another day, behave yourselves, make money, have your country, stay in power. But we're taking Hormuz. And that leaves that regime there for whatever time of which they eventually decide they want to join with Russia and Turkey and the others that come with them, as described in Ezekiel 38:39, and move against Israel and for her treasures, as described there in the scriptures. That, to me, if I had to guess today where I see us going, because do you really see us fighting some kind of long war in Iran that involves lots of boots on the ground?
No. So here's where I think is the biggest quandary, is that the mullahs and IRGC are theologically extremely passionate. I don't see how they go back to the Iranian people and be like, okay, we gave up the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to moderate. We're not going to have these proxies anymore. We've rebranded. And I don't think that they could continue control over the country like that. So to me, I think Israel and America are going to continue to kill the leadership until we get far enough down to somebody who is a technocrat Islamist in a suit. And I anticipate a rebranding. Because, we've heard what Crown Prince of Saudi said, that you can't leave this angry, broken, mullahs in power so that they strike us as soon as you leave. I don't think all that they want to accomplish in the Strait of Hormuz and the rest of the world, especially with those proxy terror armies, if this government stays as is. I think we need a rebranding. And and I think the Crown Prince is too strong for that rebranding and for their long-term purposes. But so is this going to be a rebranded, kind of changing the name, but somebody who's in country right now that has an Islamist bent? Or my hope is that Crown Prince, gets up the courage to just go there now and start his revolution. Because if you listen to people like Maher Tusi on Tusi TV, he keeps saying, no, we're going to handle this revolution. We're not asking for regime change from the West. So, and he's very close to the Crown Prince office and to himself. So I'm wondering if he's going to have the courage to do that. And then, the U.S. administration, Israel would support it, I believe. And then the U.S. administration will be like, okay, that's kind of gangster. He went into control. We'll work with him. It could go either way.
Okay, so
and
which way do you think it goes?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say because there are hints that the Crown Prince is saying, so they have what they're calling the Immortal Army in Iran right now that are carrying out attacks, that are putting out videos, that are connected to the Crown Prince. There are enough people in country, but does he have the courage and the bravery to go in now before this is solidified by external powers? And I think that's anybody's guess.
Because, he'd be risking death big time.
But he should be. I'm sorry to say, but, if you really, this is your father's legacy, this is your country, this is what you're saying that you're willing to risk life and limb for, he said he was willing to, then he's got to do it.
So what would it look like if he appears on Iranian soil? He's highly protected in what part,
yes.
what part and what region of Iran does he go to? This can be the safest, where he is guarded, but he shows up somewhere under great security with underground bunkers or whatever he needs, but he's on Iranian soil and he shows himself and says, I'm now in country, I am here. Where does he do it? What's the safest part? And what does that do to the people on the ground? How does that inspire them?
Oh, it's huge. I'm going to leave it to Annie to tell you what's the best part of the country because I'm not as familiar with every region of Iran. But I know some people say, no, it's not time. But I just think that would galvanize momentum. And, you got to look at President Trump and his history with Ahmed Ashara and other leaders. Like he kind of appreciates thuggery, where you take a bull by the horns and you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And I have control. And for him to show that courage and that ability to lead and that risk that he's willing to take and then gaining the momentum inside the country, he has the momentum and he's not even there. So I could just imagine what that momentum would be. And of course, with the help of Mossad and Israel, arming his people with weapons, because let's put it this way, if the Kurds can go in, why can't Crown Prince go in? If the militia forces can go in, why can't he go in? There are people crossing the border continuously. So it may be naive of me, but I believe that that would be the best way for him to win. Otherwise, this is his to lose.
Well, I think you and I are in agreement. If he doesn't do something like that, then I agree with you. They just keep killing on down the totem pole till they find, as you say, some younger guy, technocrat type dude who puts on a suit, rebrands, as you say, and that saves them to fight another day, as I was saying on TV and radio at 1 o'clock today. That buys them another day to fight later, which prophetically, according to Ezekiel 38 and 39, we know that comes. So it would still leave everything operational for Ezekiel 38 and 39 versus thinking, okay, the crown prince goes in, they have a revolution. Well, at what point does something happen to him and it goes back the other direction? I don't know. I mean, it could play out like that for years to come, I guess.
Yes. Well, I mean, I have a theory also on that, is that even if Iran, a large segment of Iran goes to the crown prince and moderates, there are still large portions of the Persian Empire of the Bible that could be against Israel. So that's Afghanistan, Pakistan, Jordan, Iraq. But there's whole swaths of territory that are still part of what the Bible considers the Persian Empire.
We've talked about that before here, and I think we proposed that, and then we brought you in on that, and you added your. So a lot of us were kind of thinking that independently, and then we came together and talked about it. So I don't discount that at all. But if I had to guess right now, I think your first scenario is they kill down the totem pole till they find someone who screams uncle, and they mind themselves and stay in power and keep the country and the oil and all that goes with it. And the U.S. and this partnership takes over the strait. And this is that's the way they control them. That's the leverage they use to keep them behaving until the day they don't behave and join with Russia and Turkey and come down on Israel.
But to me, there has to be some sort of rebranding, because they wouldn't have any credibility.
With Syria, right? The leader of Syria, he put on a suit, and Trump went from calling him a terrorist to a good-looking guy in the Oval Office.
Exactly. And that would be the most dismal outcome for the Iranian people that I could possibly imagine, which would just be devastating to me. And I just hope on the negotiation table, as they're killing off leaders and looking for this person, that they include in there, hey, you can't force Islamic law on your people. You need to open up a little bit. This brutality and this, tyrannical rule of Islam has to stop. I'd like to think that was on the table, but that's anybody's guess.
Here's what President Trump had to say the other day about Saudi Arabia. Here we go.
Saudi Arabia. What do you hear with Saudi Arabia?
Just hearing that you've been talking and that he has been encouraging you to do certain things related to Iran. Can you share?
Well, he's a warrior. He does. Yeah, he's a warrior. He's fighting with us, by the way. Saudi Arabia has been excellent, and UAE, excellent. And I will tell you, Qatar, incredible.
All right, so there is strong evidence out there, despite some of the media contradictions, that the Crown Prince, he wants this to keep going. Reportedly, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman just told Trump, keep slamming Iran. This is our historic opportunity to reshape the Middle East and crush their regime. The region is taking sides, and they're not ambiguous. Source is the New York Times.
I totally agree. But they don't want it to be France. You know what I mean? In all actuality, they would like an Islam light, like a version of themselves where they could manipulate their people and still have this veneer of Islam. I don't think they would accept a Christian leader or, a Christian Iranian or a secular Iranian that's going to totally revamp and also affect the balance of power, where they would have all these oil resources, side with Israel, change the whole balance of the Gulf. They want somebody that's going to look and act like them.
So at the end of the day, this seems to be about a lot more than the American people are being told. Clearly, it's about trade routes and oil and energy and pipelines and fiber and data centers and nodes. And it's also about Ben Gurion Canal going right through Gaza. It's about making Gaza this great development that we've seen the PDF of, right? So I think at the end of the day, we're not being told everything, but I think we've figured it out.
We never are.
I think our team has figured it out, don't you?
Yes, we're never, having been on the inside and the outside, the American public is rarely told all the details. There's a lot behind the sausage making.
Yeah, there's a lot behind the sausage making. That is for sure. Is there anything else that you're watching that you should tell our audience about tonight before we let you go?
Yeah, Lebanon. I lived in Lebanon, and it's tragic to me how Hezbollah constantly harasses, attacks Israel, and the people of Lebanon suffer. They've had 1 million people displaced, anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 people killed. And it's the first time that the president, who's a Christian party, usually aligned to Hezbollah, has said, we must demilitarize Hezbollah. And this war and getting rid of Iran and its ability to fund Hezbollah could mean a very dramatic and welcome change in Lebanon. And so I'm really excited that Lebanon can finally be free of Hezbollah and change that balance of power, because historically the Christian party, as I said, aligns with Hezbollah against the Sunnis. And so that's always been this kind of horrible alliance between a Christian community and this radical Shiite community. And I'm hoping it would shift that balance more to the Christians and the Sunnis and basically the secular moderates of Lebanon, and giving it a chance to prosper and grow, because it's really a beautiful country and it has a beautiful people, but it's been under the thumb of the lunatics in the south and in Hezbollah.
And here, of course, is the map: Israel, and then Lebanon to the north, and what is proposed, I guess, as a buffer zone. Now, people are screaming this is all part of the Greater Israel Project to take more land. But as we discussed last night with our reporter on the ground in Israel, every time they get more land, it's because somebody is engaging them in war that should leave them alone. They only keep grabbing land during war. So if they end up with this buffer zone in Lebanon, you can still hear the Greater Israel Project people screaming and hollering like Tucker Carlson and others. Comment?
Yeah. I'm a follower of the Bible, so whatever God says belongs to Israel. So I know that may be politically incorrect, but I'm on God's side. So
yeah, well, you and I are in agreement. You and I are on agreement on that. Absolutely. Well, here's a headline from Reuters: Israeli minister calls for annexation of southern Lebanon. Well, yeah, they need a buffer zone, for Pete's sake.
Yes.
Your website, resurrectministry.com, is that right?
Correct. And I'm on Instagram as my married name, Hedieh Mirahmadi.
Okay, excellent. Resurrectministry.com. It's always great to have you on. Thank you for all of your great work here.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Great to be with you.
You too. Hedieh Mirahmadi checking in today. Resurrectministry.com. Folks, check out her broadcast and podcast of her own as well. We'll be right back after this very short break. Studies have shown America's water supply is not safe. It is filled with toxins and chemicals. Go look it up. This is fact. Fact check me. And then I'll offer you this solution. Worldviewwater.net. Take a look at this list. This water purifier removes all kinds of harmful toxins like lead, fluoride, chlorine, arsenic, pesticides, bacteria, and pharmaceuticals, and more. This is the water I give to my 3 dogs. I drink it every day. I have one of the filters in my kitchen, under the kitchen sink, and then I have one on my shower. Do you know how much your skin absorbs of water when you're in the shower each and every day? Protect yourself and your body. Remain healthy. Eat good food. Drink purified, clean water. One of the most powerful water filters available in America. Worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net. Again, tell your family and friends about it. In fact, maybe even give this as a gift to some of your family and friends, particularly those of you who have children and grandchildren. Worldviewwater.net. Joining me now is Michael Weiner. Look at this headline. Government sold $606 billion of Treasury securities this week as the borrowing must go on. They got to keep borrowing the money, folks, printing the money, expanding the balance sheet. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the government is going to cut its spending? I don't see it. Do you think we're going to continue having wars and more wars? What did they just ask for? How much, $200 billion more for the Pentagon? So, folks, this is all inflationary. Now, I don't know. Apparently, Americans love buying stuff on the high end. psychologically, for some reason, Americans love to buy stuff when it's really expensive. Gold and silver went on sale the other day. It should have been a great buying opportunity for people, but it's spiking back up again already. Joining me now to talk about that, including the largest private creditor play to limit withdrawals after investors asked to redeem their money. That's one headline. And I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion, as I tell you. But for how long have we talked about the fact that in the small print, it's really not your money in the small print. And you need to have some of your assets, some of your capital outside of the system. Joining me now is Michael Weiner. Michael, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Evening, Brandon. How are you?
Great. Thank you. Let's start with this headline. The first one I showed, the government just sold $606 billion of Treasury securities. Now, I don't know who bought it, but I know they've been buying a lot of their own debt. Have they not, the government?
Not only that, yes, but it's hard to find buyers. That's been the problem. It's been very hard to find buyers, and they have to re-up all the debt that we have. That 40 trillion is flipping over. And, you know, the disgusting thing about it is we're not paying any of it down. And what's even worse, and for those people who are sitting in various different states who are being audited right now, I had a client of ours in Ohio just recently tell me that if they got rid of all the fraud that was there and hadn't happened, they wouldn't have any property taxes. I mean, right now, these people, the debt that we are looking at is going to get worse. It's going to get worse because of the Iranian crisis. And the way they look to get out of all of these debt issues and all of this fraud is by making us pay more. So they spend it irresponsibly. They give it out and it's stolen irresponsibly. And the good people who go to work every day and worry about trying to get by have to pay it back. We're paying back what's stolen from us. Sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what's going on. And if they ran things properly, if they stopped doing some of the things that they're doing, we would be able to not even have an IRS. We'd be able to deal with all this, and we don't. So, you know, the biggest thing that we have with the Republicans is they're somewhat more responsible, and I said the word somewhat more responsible than the Democrats, socialists, communists. That's what they are. But do I see the situation getting better? I see it getting much worse. This $600 billion is nothing compared to what's going to be going on this year. And as you said at the beginning there, Brandon, people don't get it when it talks about gold and all the rest. I warned you it's going to bounce right back. There was no reason for it to go on. But I'll warn you of this. If you don't take responsibility for your own personal assets, they will take responsibility for you. We don't do that at Swiss America, Worldview. We put your life in your hands. That's what gold allows you to do. Without that, I don't care what your financial genius tells you. They weren't around 5 weeks ago when this started. Understand the fact you're going to take a hit. And we did in 71. You're going to take a hit, and I can't help you afterwards. You're going to pay more and get less. That's all I can tell you.
Well, let's go to this article here. And this is Eris is the latest private creditor player to limit withdrawal after investors asked to redeem their money. Now, you've been talking about this with a lot of your clients for a long time. What is this really all about?
They don't have the ability to return all your money the way you would like as quickly as you want. BlackRock just came out recently and stated that if they are not necessarily releasing your money to you when you want to. One of the greatest examples of this is what happened with Metropolitan Life. All of us might remember years ago, there used to be commercials all the time going on with Snoopy. And you'd see Snoopy and it was all about annuities. You don't see those anymore. The reason why you don't see those anymore is Metropolitan Life came to the opinion and they don't offer annuities anymore because they were concerned they couldn't meet the responsibility that they promised to pay people back with. And that's what these companies do. They are borrowing for hither to yon. They go upside down in certain areas in the markets. And then we as individuals who think we control what we do find out the hard truth when we need it or when they tell you. And, for somebody who has an investment with these people and others, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to sue them. By the time you get into court, you'll be broke.
Take a look at this article right here. U.S. fourth quarter productivity growth revised sharply lower. The economy is slowing. Is that what I'm hearing, Michael?
Absolutely. The economy is slowing. Jobs are, the people at work are becoming less. The AI situation is creating a problem with productivity, not increasing it, but diminishing it. And then we're sitting back in this war situation, which I'm very disappointed, and I hate Iran. They can understand that if they're out there want to come hunt me. I hate. I think they're terrible. They maimed and killed my fellow Americans. I got no use for them. But don't tell me we're going to war with somebody and then at the end say we're cutting a deal with a bunch of thugs. Really? You think I believe that? No. But this situation of productivity goes along with the fact of the work, the inflationary situation, and people's ability to be able to cover their overhead and they're staying home. And the productivity is going down, and we'll have to see how it all plays itself out. They're trying to replace it robotically, but that's not going to work.
Here we go. NVIDIA insiders sale 14 million in 48 hours despite strong bullish forecast. I think they should say NVIDIA insiders sell, not sale, right? They sold.
Yes.
They sold. It's a typo.
Yeah.
I think there's a typo in that headline. So why would they be selling 14 million in 48 hours despite the strong bullish forecast?
It's a simple answer. I guess they're not bullish. They're looking at what's going on, and they're saying, wait a minute, it's time to get some cash out. And they go do this with all these companies. It's when Berkshire Hathaway was doing it. And strangely enough, Berkshire Hathaway as a company, if you look at the holdings that Warren Buffett was doing at the end, he was going all tangible. He was going gold, he was going railroads, he was going cars. He went into things that were tangible. He stayed out of the market. And when you're looking at this situation, these people in the chip industry are thinking just like anybody else that this is an overblown marketplace. NVIDIA has been riding a wave, and sooner or later that wave is coming to an end, and other companies are coming up competitively. And guess what? And also Elon Musk is going into the chip business. And if that might scare the bejesus out of our dear friend, Mr. The guy who runs NVIDIA, I think the chip market in the United States, when you become low in something, they overdo the other way. And that's what's going on with the chip market. We're going to have more chips you can shake a stick at, and these people at the top and NVIDIA want to get their money out. If they thought it was great, why would they take their money out when they can get more money and sell it for a higher price? Why?
So gold had quite a dip. It's coming back up. But Americans seem to have a psychological love affair with buying at the high price. Do they not?
I used to be told when I started as a stockbroker back in the 70s, as Horatio Weeks told me, and I said, the stock market, he was a very famous guy from Hornblower and Weeks. All of you are way too young to know his name.
He was on PBS, right?
No, I don't think so. This was 76, 77.
Okay.
I don't know about TV at all with him, but he was with Hornblower and Weeks, and he managed the Mott family, who were the founders of General Motors. He was the founder of one of the founders of Hornblower and Weeks. He managed the Ford family. And I asked him, I said, the market was going down. I said, God, Mr. Weeks, why aren't we busy? Why aren't people calling us? And he said, America's indoctrinated to pay higher prices. If there's a bargain, they think something's wrong with it. They immediately go, what's wrong with it? It's like with gold right now. By the time I said this a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was no fundamental reason for gold being down. This is a time to stock up, and plus you need to do spring cleaning in your financial picture, so it's a gift. And some people will wait until it costs them more, and some people will wait until things get so bad that they desperately want to buy it, and they'll get less and pay more. So if you can sit back and be smart, you'll pay attention to the fact of a dip and buy on it. Do I change my outlook for this year? No, I said 6,000. I now say 6,200. Jamie Dimon is calling for $10,000 gold, and he hates it. He knows the fact that gold is being used as money monetarily. So, I mean, and he's a brilliant guy. He's a number one banker in America. Why is the number one banker in America saying to you people that gold's going to 10,000? Is he stupid? Maybe because he wants to make sure he's not on the wrong side of it. That's why. So, you know, if I was out there right now where I was, I would be doing spring cleaning on my banking. They're going digital in this country. They're going to have the Clarity Act and the Genius Act passed, and their stable coin situation and the banking digital marketplace, which will all lead towards devaluation, which will send gold up and your dollars down. It's as simple as that. So either you make a move and you protect yourself, and those of you who have with us, I'm pleased. But if you're not adequately protected, look at, I'm not going to protect, change degrees with your financial whizzes. I'm really not interested in it. At the end of the day, my grandpa used to say, if somebody wants to make you a lot of money, make sure they got a lot of money in the first place. I'm not taking a guy who just graduated from college and just started working at a securities firm tell me how to make money. He hasn't even moved out of his apartment. So at the end of the day, I guess what I'm saying to you right now, this is your money. I've said it before to all the people on the show. It is your money. You win, you lose. And if you're over 60, you got this huge bullseye on your back because they want your money. They look at you as a huge piggy bank. And if you're foolish, they're going to take a hammer to you.
Well, and this, again, I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. My opinion is you should do your own homework, your own due diligence. And it starts with getting a free packet from Michael Weiner at worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com. Or you can call, what's the number, boys? 1-877-864-1072. We have a lower third for that. There we go. 1-877-864-1072. 1-877-864-1072. 1072. Get your free packet either by phone or with a website, worldviewgold.com. Do your own homework. Do your own due diligence. I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. But my opinion is get the packet and do your homework because I think we're in an inflationary environment. I think inflation is going to keep going up. We're going to keep having wars. They are going to continue to expand the size of government. I'm sorry. We're spending $1 trillion a year just on interest payments on the debt, right, Michael?
Right. We're paying more money on our debt, our interest on our debt, than we are taking money in.
By the way,
it's not even funny.
Didn't we just have an article about the U.S. government being insolvent? Who came out and said that?
I think it was Passant.
I think so too. Let me find the article. I had the article up here the other day. Let's see.
Well, the United States government's been broke since the 80s. The reality is
Fortune. The Treasury just declared the U.S. insolvent. The media missed it. The U.S. government is insolvent. That's not hyperbole. It's the conclusion drawn directly from the Treasury Department's own consolidated financial statements for fiscal year 2025 released last week to near total media silence. The numbers, $6.06 trillion in total assets against $47.78 trillion in total liabilities as of September 30th, 2025. Importantly, the $47.78 trillion in reported liabilities does not include unfunded obligations of social insurance programs like Social Security, Medicare, and those disclosed separately in the off-balance sheet of Statement of Social Insurance. The government's consolidated balance sheet position, including the SOSI, deteriorated by nearly $2.07 trillion between fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025, reaching a staggering negative $41.7 trillion. So then you had the off-balance sheet, and we're well over $100 trillion in debt. 136 trillion looks like in your living room. Wow. So yeah.
I was going to say, if you look at the foundation of this nation, to those gentlemen sitting around with those white wigs on in the 1780s and 90s, coming up with our financial system, our constitutional republic. By the way, there's things in the constitutional republic about swearing in on a Bible versus a Quran. Look it up. I can tell you this much. One of the things they did, they put us under the gold standard. They wanted to make sure people in the government did not spend more gold than we had money in Fort Knox. That kept them under control. We've been off the gold standard since 1971. That's 55 years, and we are broke. Not only are we broke, but we became the people that those guys sitting around and with their quill pens, writing all this stuff, warned us of. They were concerned of financial irresponsibility, and that's exactly what we live with it. And then a lot of you people out there, you replace the financial irresponsibility with more paper-driven financial irresponsibility.
That's because they have a financial planner selling them this garbage.
Because they make money on it. It's a perpetuating lifestyle. And that's why all these people in New York are billionaires, is because they're making more commissions than they ever would have paid. When I was a stockbroker, we didn't even make 1/20th of what these guys get paid right now when they do deals. And ongoing residual income and money under management. They created cash monsters for themselves at their risk. That's why when you own gold with us, you pay us once. That's all, just one time.
Wow.
We're with you. We work with you. We buy back from you at no charge. But, you know, I mean, it's illogical. If it was so good, even in the 1850s, in the 1880s, in the 1890s, and 1920s, why didn't they legitimately? Roosevelt did the wrong thing and changed the currency. But realistically, if it was much better not to be on the gold standard, then why did we not go off it earlier? Literally. And if we weren't on the gold standard in World War I or World War II, we'd be speaking Chinese or German, one of the Japanese or German, excuse me.
Wow.
That's the truth.
There you go. We're insolvent, folks. So you can trust the digits, you can trust the paper, or you can go hard assets. And apparently that's what Warren Buffett's done, gone hard assets. Cash on the barrelhead, you know, real money, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
guys. WorldviewGold.com or 1-877-864-1072. Good night from Brandon and Dolly, Mike Weiner.
Good night, Dolly. I'm waiting to see you model your coat.
I know. He sent her a jacket. We've got to get it on her and take a picture.
She's getting ready for her beach wear.
Yeah, we're going to get it on there. We're going to show you soon. We keep forgetting, but we'll get it done.
Good night. Thank you.
We'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Remember, if you appreciate all we're doing and all we're putting out, we need your support. WorldviewFoundation.com. Hey, check out the brand new article I wrote over at WorldviewTimes.com. I was up early this morning. Brand new article on how IMEC and all of this may be setting the stage for Gog Magog. Check it out, worldviewtimes.com. That's our news article page. And it's all free. Worldview, let me go over there real quick. Worldviewtimes.com. Support our foundation so we can keep pushing out free programs and articles. Look at this. There it is right there. Is the Ezekiel 3839 Gog Magog coalition forming right now to seize Israel's natural gas, oil, and the IMAC trade corridor? Dealt with it on radio today, which actually we're going to replay right now. So stay tuned. Thanks for your support. WorldviewFoundation.com. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. We're going to be joined by Dr. Andy Woods and Dr. Rob Lindstedt. I have a brand new article out, my friends. You go over to worldviewreport.com. No, it's not there. Worldviewtimes.com. Worldviewtimes.com. That's our news page. Here is the brand new article I worked on all morning. Is Ezekiel 38, maybe we could do a different color font on that. That white kind of gets, I don't know, maybe something darker. Ezekiel 38 and 39, Gog-Magog coalition forming right now to seize Israel's natural gas, oil, and the IMAC trade corridor, ? It's a rather lengthy article with a lot of documentation. And I want to talk because today, interestingly enough, there's more coming out. Benjamin Netanyahu himself is now openly talking about the oil. And I don't have a problem with that, but I did notice that there are those out there now attacking Benjamin Netanyahu, saying how silly he is to be mentioning that this is about oil. Well, that's not the only reason, and no one should think that's the only reason, but that certainly is a reason. But if you're a little country the size of New Jersey and you need more oil, because they have a lot of natural gas, no doubt about it, but they still need more oil themselves. And this is vital to your country's existence, economically, militarily, industrial-wise, everything else. Well, what's wrong with mentioning it? Because it is being used as a choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, by Iran against Israel and now America. Apparently, they're letting other ships through. Word is they're charging up to $2 million a tanker, but not American, not Israeli tankers coming through the Strait of Hormuz. And as we've been talking about last week, this week, this is a big part of the IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. This is a big part of Gaza, a Ben Gurion Canal. This is a big part of the rebuilding of Gaza. It all goes, part of the Abraham Accords. It all goes together. And so it is worthy of mentioning, and I think people actually, instead of being upset with Benjamin Netanyahu, should be appreciative that he was being honest. He could have played the political thing and never mentioned it, but he didn't, because it is part of their national security. Listen to what he said in the last few hours.
I tell you that there's enormous risk in not acting, much greater risk than acting. And if you think that the oil markets are in trouble today, think of Iran with nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. Then think of the blackmail that you would endure.
I didn't exactly ask, however, why the Israel's... No, I think I only fair that this is a serious subject. This is a serious... My question...
Per outlet.
Go ahead.
We don't have a lot of time.
Why don't... This is a world war and peace here.
Of course, but you have...
There are oil fields around the world that are burning. Gas prices are going up. The war is popular here in Israel. It is not popular with many Americans. So my question was, how do you see this ending? Not why, not even when. What do you imagine the day after will look like?
Well, we have achievable goals, and I'm not going to speak about the full battle plans that we have with the United States. We're well coordinated with them. I will say this, that once we achieve our goals, then I have argued, I think, and Americans understand this very well because we're real partners. I think that what has to be done is to have alternative routes. Instead of going through the choke points of the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, in order to have the flow of oil, just have oil pipelines going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean ports, and you've just done away with the choke points for forever. That is definitely possible. So I see that as a real change that will follow this war. But I also see this war ending a lot faster than people think. I think you have to, in war, you have to grit your teeth. Churchill said that democracies suffer from the slumber of democracies, as he called it. And they only wake up, he said, they may wake up only when they hear the gong, the jarring gong of danger, is the way he put it. Well, you're hearing the jarring gong of danger. The jarring gong of danger is Iran gets nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. That's not a jarring gong. That is an apocalypse. Don't let it happen. And the function of leaders is to stand and tell people the truth, even when things are uncomfortable. That's what you have to do. And you don't always see the danger in time. But leaders are tasked with the task of seeing danger in time and acting on it. And I hope that in time, people will see the wisdom and the courage of President Trump's decision and his leadership, and the fact that we're working together. America is not fighting for Israel. America is fighting with Israel for a common goal, to protect our future, to protect civilization against these barbarians.
Joining me now is Dr. Andy Woods and Dr. Rob Lindstedt. Gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be here.
The article I have today, I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to read it over at worldviewtimes.com. A headline again, is the Ezekiel 38-39 Gog-Magog coalition forming right now to seize Israel's natural gas, oil, and IMAC trade corridor. I go through some of the nations, and Dr. Woods, perhaps you can list off some of those nations. I go through the list of nations that would be included as coming against Israel for her treasures. And I'm wondering now if this is not setting the stage for that. I am now hearing that what is being proposed is perhaps by one group that the current regime can stay in power in Iran, but America is going to, and a coalition, and President Trump said from the Oval Office, or where it was on the tarmac the other day in Florida, West Palm Beach on Monday morning, when asked who's going to control the corridor, he said, me. And then he said a coalition maybe, but me. Well, that fits with the Board of Peace that he's in charge of and so much. I'm not arguing that point, but if he decides to get control of it, part of the deal could be we'll let you stay in power, regime in Iran, but we're going to control this Strait of Hormuz. One way or the other, we can control it. We're going to control it with you not in power, or we're going to control it with you in power, but we're controlling it. And maybe the strait ends up being used as a carrot and a stick. And if America and the coalition and IMAC and Israel and all these groups get control of that Strait of Hormuz for their various plans, and maybe there's peace for a while. Maybe things kind of go along fine for a while. I'm just throwing out a theory here. But maybe at some point Iran decides, no, we don't like this. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm wondering if there's a scenario of which the current Islamic regime stays in power, but yet America gets control of that strait. Because when you read the Gaza plan by Jared Kushner and Witkoff, you read IMEC, you read the Abraham Accords, all of this hinges around the problem of Iran. They keep bringing up Iran months ago in their reports. It's the oil, it's the fly in the ointment, if you will. Dr. Woods?
Well, I mean, that whole scenario you're describing there, seems very credible to me. I mean, I noticed, first of all, there's less and less talk about regime change. I remember maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, that's all they were talking about. I don't hear people talking about that as frequently. And so an aggressive, belligerent Iran